And in less than 24 hours, more than 10,000 members of the United Auto Workers Union will begin voting on the latest ratified contract agreement with Deere & Company. We're now 34 days into the strike, and joining us live in studio is News 8 Shelby Kluver. And Shelby, you've been talking to a lot of workers, and I know, you haven't talked to them all, so you don't quite sure what what everybody thinks. But I mean, from the people you talk to, what does it sound like right now?
Well, most members I speak with are anticipating another very close vote tomorrow. But remember, the changes between this offer and the very most recent one are very minor. However, there is a feeling that it could be enough to tip the majority over to a yes vote. After a cold few weeks on the picket lines, UAW members are preparing for another tense vote.
In some ways, the tougher the conditions, the more it strengthens resolve.
Robert Bruno is a labor professor at the University of Illinois. He says members not only have to weigh Deere's offer, but also the cost of staying on strike.
And then they decide, okay, do we really want to be out through the holidays? Are we comfortable with doing that?
The latest agreement is a slightly modified version of the second offered contract and includes a 5% increase on KIP-related caps. But is it enough to close a narrow gap? After Deere's first offer was overwhelmingly rejected by a 9-to-1 margin, the second contract was voted down by just 55% of union members.
Can you drain enough votes out of that?
Bob Bussell is the director of labor education at the University of Oregon.
It does come down to a question of how the two sides look at leverage at this point.
Workers say it's been a long month, with many indicating they'll be voting yes on Wednesday. Still, it's expected to be another close vote. And if the ratification is rejected, experts say there are a few things that could happen next.
They could really settle in to a strike that goes into January.
There could also be legal grounds to declare an impasse, meaning both sides have nothing left to offer, especially after Deere announced it had already given its best, final, and last contract.
It really is democracy in action with all of its prospect, possibility, and messiness.
Now, employees have heard that if the latest offer is accepted tomorrow night, members will head back to work as early as Thursday morning. Although at least some third shift employees have been told they would not need to come in at midnight on Wednesday. And production would instead begin with the day shift at 7 a.m. on Thursday. Jim?
Yeah, a lot of ifs though. And if this vote is rejected tomorrow, there are two really important dates that are going to become even more important in the days ahead.
Exactly. This upcoming Friday, Deere and the UAW have agreed to hold a hearing on the injunction out at Davenport Works. You might remember that's the order that limited workers out there to just 4 people per gate, also banning burn barrels and chairs. And the other date to watch for will be next Wednesday, November 24th. That is when Deere is scheduled to release its fourth quarter earnings report.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye on all that. Of course, the results tomorrow as well, especially those from Waterloo, Dubuque, Milan, and Harvester Works. Those were the only 4 facilities with majority no votes 2 weeks ago. And we're also learning more about where tomorrow's votes will be cast. Local 281 at Davenport Works announced voting will be at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds from 10 until 1. Over at Harvester Works, Local 865 voting will be at the Tax Slayer Center from 9 until 4. Members from Local 79 in Milan have said they've been told to meet at the Camden Center, and workers in Moline's Seating and Cylinder Works tell News 8 they'll vote at the Union Hall in East Moline from 7:30 until 5. Voting hours for Local 434 will be broken up according to the spelling of your last name.